right, guys, welcome. David here, TexasHornsFans.com. Welcome on here. We've got an awesome guest. I'm super pumped to talk to this guy. We've got Eric Nahlin of Inside Texas. And correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, owner, publisher of Inside Texas. And from last year or 2019, tell us how that went about.
Yeah, I mean, Inside Texas has been around since 1985, actually. I've been there since 2011. Been there for a long time as well. So yeah, I mean, we have an investor group that bought it, but it's a team deal, and I think that's why you see some of the enthusiasm and the energy that we have coming out of that site. Is because it's, I don't know, maybe I'm on the masthead. I don't know. I don't care about it. We're trying to build the best site of all time, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, no, you guys do such an awesome job. Obviously, a ton of fantastic inside content, information. You guys have been responsible, I think, of breaking a lot of pretty major stories. I saw it. We've seen it on Inside Texas First, which is really cool, and it's just cool to see an independent site like that be able to put out content like that. The message boards are obviously awesome. So, but yeah, no, it's great to have you on. Obviously, main topic I think we're going to talk about is some spring ball, maybe previewing the spring game a little bit, but will be fun. I know there was a scrimmage on Saturday, so and then take some questions and comments in the comment section. So as we're talking, guys, if you're jumping on here, just throw out a question for Eric if it overlaps with another one that we've already covered. Kind of pay attention to that. But yeah, Eric was nice enough to jump on here and give us some insight of what he's seeing. So the place I kind of wanted to start is, obviously there's always a lot of hype and excitement, every spring, but it's not every spring that we have a quarterback battle, right? It's been 4 years, and it's even been 10 years since we've had a quarterback, a solid, legit leader at quarterback. It's been since Colt McCoy. So now Sam's gone. So kind of from what you're seeing and hearing, Eric, how legit is this an actual quarterback battle? And do you think there will be a clear resolution by April 24th on the spring game?
I think they're in a good spot. Growing up as a 49er fan, I remember the quarterback battles between Joe Montana and Steve Young. And kind of how you want your quarterback battles to be between two good contestants, not two bad ones. It's still wide open. This is going to be wide open, probably headed into the last week of August, maybe even in the opener. If you're a fan waiting for news on who the best quarterback is, it might not happen anytime soon. Both guys do things better than the other, but they also overlap in skill in a lot of ways too. That unlocking the RPO playbook, just having good footwork in the play action game, and being team leaders and being respected. There's a lot of overlap there. So yeah, the best quarterback might not start in September, and the best quarterback might start in September. I have no idea. It's what I tell my readers is, don't take a rooting interest. Just hope that they pick the best quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's going to be interesting to see, especially and it's not like we've got two guys coming in there who are on they're brand new. I mean, this is Casey's third year in the program, and Hudson Card's second. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, because I think you're right. They are different enough to where there's some dynamics that you can't help but like, with both of them.
Even when you talk about athleticism, they're both athletic. Hudson might even be quicker than Casey when it comes down to it, and so it's hard to differentiate those two. So far it's early, and they both have. If you're looking for things that make one different than the other, maybe Casey's a little more comfortable in the live bullets, and then Hudson's probably a little more comfortable pushing the ball down the field. But even there, they're both suffering from the same issues. The offensive line isn't great, and the wide receivers haven't been all that great either. When I say the offensive line isn't great, I should correct myself. Some guys have been out, and the defensive line is pretty damn good too.
Right. Yeah. that kind of alludes to one of my other questions I want to ask you later. But so obviously, the other big news, obviously, completely new coaching staff, kind of the third coaching staff overhaul in as many years, or really the third kind of overall uh, coaching staff that these guys have gone through. So guys like Casey that have been in the program for a few years, they've had to get new philosophies, new coordinators, develop new relationships with some of these coaches. So how would you kind of describe what you expect to see in terms of a difference in style and philosophy from a Tom Herman run offense to a Steve Sarkisian run offense?
Oh man, there are a lot of differences, and this is actually a really good. I think it goes to I don't follow basketball all that closely, but I know who Russell Westbrook is, and I know who Steve Nash is, or a TJ Ford type. Sarkisian is looking more for a TJ Ford or Steve Nash type, whereas Tom Herman was looking more for a Russell Westbrook, kind of the guy to be the dominant factor. And that's why we saw, it took its toll on Sam over the years. Maybe he wasn't nearly as effective as a passer as he took more hits. Sark is designing an offense that's designed to get the ball in the playmaker's hands, not necessarily the quarterback being the ultimate playmaker. So he's going to see the guys that he has available to him, and he wants them all involved, even the tight end. Tight end's a good constraint. I don't think we saw that enough, where the tight end might even be the least athletic guy on offense, but it could be the most dangerous at times. You can catch people slipping. We've seen OU do that all too many times. So I think, so ultimately he wants the quarterback to be more of a facilitator instead of the point guard that's trying to score. And that's something that goes back to the first things we heard about Tom Herman when he had Greg Ward at U of H, that he was too reliant on Greg Ward bailing him out.
Yeah, I like that comparison too with the basketball guys. So little speed, quickness, more maybe athletic ability as more opposed to like a sledgehammer. What and I'll say this just from a fan's perspective of what frustrated me most about, I think, one of Herman's big ideas or philosophies was it just seemed like whatever the series was, the guy that was supposed to rotate, right, was going to get in that series, as opposed to sticking with what seemed like was working, right? Sticking with the guy who was on a roll, who was hot, and then he would disappear. Sark coming from Alabama for a couple years, Alabama could go 3 deep, and you find guys that would be starting on other teams. Do you think we should expect to see more sticking with the number one guys, the guys that are actually got the matchup win or have the hot hand?
Yeah, he's definitely going to go with a hot hand for sure. I think Tom was kind of mechanical. That's Tom was just mechanical by nature. I don't mean that in a bad way. I still think Tom Herman has a chance to be a successful head coach. Sark's going to do what works. There's not going to be any square pegs and round holes or any of that stuff. It's going to be a lot more about getting guys in positions to make plays, as opposed to the guy needs to make a play. Don't be so reliant. Don't be so reliant on execution. Tom was very vocal about the importance of execution. Of course, that's important, but I mean, you have to get these guys in the right play. Just with the running game last year, we saw them when they started to fit them to actually what they can do instead of what Tom wanted them to do, instead of just blowing them off the ball. We started to see a lot more success, and I think that's what you're going to see right off the bat. One of my first concerns about Sarkisian was that him and Flood might just try to blow people off the ball, but that's not what they're trying to do. We asked the source the other day what's the best running play, and they just said it's the one that we give it to Bijan. So
I like it.
That right there is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like that. I like that philosophy. So we got a question here from Adam. He says, I don't know if you can see it on the screen there. He says, how do you see the wide receiver depth chart actually shaking out? He said, are we doomed? But yeah, it's an interesting squad, right? You got some guys that have been in there for a while. I wouldn't be surprised if if we ended up seeing Jake or Jordan maybe lining up wide. Obviously, Jake's hurt, but how do you see that shaking out? Troy Ramirez is looking to get
Yeah,
back in there after being gone last year. Josh Moore's obviously got some experience, so there's a lot of possibilities. It seems like. So how do you see it finally resolving?
yeah. I like how he said, "Are we doomed?" And then he had the emojis that lets me know they did. He doesn't think they're doomed, and I agree with that. Um, yeah, you got to get guys healthy. With Jake, it's unfortunate. It's kind of a confidence game. If that guy goes out and has like 5 catches for 120 yards in the opener, he might just go off and win the Blitnikoff or something crazy. Um, on the other side, if he has a couple drops, he might be in the doghouse again. So who knows, man? That's the problem. He just needs to have some success, and part of success is just being set up for it. And that's not to say that Tom didn't or Yurcich, we saw them. He had a couple of drops where he should have made the play, but the talent is still there. Obviously, the broken foot doesn't help. So that we'll figure it out from there. So Josh Moore is going to be a player. I mean, without a doubt, that guy can get open, make plays downfield. I've had college coaches ask me if everything's going okay over there with him. Like they want to know if that guy's going to hit the portal, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I think he's good.
Wouldn't be the only one. Yeah.
That just tells you that there's a market demand for Josh Moore, even if he's not looking to leave. Jordan Whittington, I love him. He just has to stay healthy. If he does, and I call these guys slot machines, of big running back type of wide receivers that can break tackles and take it to the house. And then O'Meary. So yeah, O'Meary's a monster. So I mean, these guys just have to come back and be healthy. It could go one way or the other. I have no idea if they're going to stay healthy. If they stay healthy, then I'm not worried about it. If they get hurt or there isn't the quality depth that you would like as there are at like cornerback or some other positions.
Right. Do you see Jake and Jordan sticking in the same position? I mean, I don't know. I think we might be assuming that they're just going to stick, in the slot. I mean, could we see them on the field more at the same time? Who knows?
I think so. I don't think they'll be as rigid as Tom was. We had Tom on the Facebook Live with Inside Texas, and he took umbrage to the word rigid, but he was kind of rigid when it came to personnel deployment. He wanted his ideal fits. I think you definitely see Jordan and Jake on the field at the same time. Right now, they're doing a little bit of everything with Jordan. So they'll figure out a way. Whoever the playmakers are, they're going to get out there. They didn't care if they don't need that tall skyscraper out there at X wide receiver. That Tom was coveting. So and same at same at Z. Z's supposed to be the speed guy that blows the top off. Jake could easily play there. That's not a problem. So you put Jordan in the slot, O'Meary in the X in the boundary, and go from there.
Yeah. I think there's so much also focus on the wide receiver group, obviously, just because Sark is coming off of what will be 4 first-round wide receivers, right? I mean, this year you could have 2, Smith and Waddle go in the top 10, and that's just that's just a ridiculous to have on your resume, including one of those being a Heisman winner, which is just crazy. So. And there's that kind of chicken or the egg question, right? Though was it the receivers, that made him look good, or did he come up with ways to have them shine?
Yeah, it's always going to be a blend of all of it. The Niners are probably going to take Mac Jones, or somebody's going to take Mac Jones pretty high. So obviously that he's that facilitator, that Steve Nash that we're talking about, that TJ Ford that gets the talented guys the ball. So I mean, it's never one or the other. It's usually both and.
Right. What are you? Obviously, some videos and reports have already come out from the scrimmage on Saturday. Kind of that we're kind of right in the middle of the spring now. Anything stand out to you from what you've seen so far? Anybody kind of show out that maybe surprised you?
I think they're probably going to be better at edge than people are concerned about. Maybe I don't know for sure. It's a zero-sum game when you have the edge guys going against the offensive line. You don't know who's great and who's not. but I do like what I'm hearing about Jacoby Jones and Ray Thornton. I had Ray Thornton number 16 in the state the year he came out. I think it was 2016. Um, I know the talent's there. You know, he's just been behind some NFL guys, and I know Jacoby's actually in the right fit. You know, I always belabor the importance of fit. I think that people get lost in the rankings, and they'll see a guy as a strong side defensive end or a defensive tackle or whatever. They have to be in the right fit. It's not, it doesn't work out so cleanly as people think. So when Jacoby Jones signed to Texas, they brought him in to be a 4-eye, even though that he had no chance at being a good 4-eye. He just doesn't have it. He doesn't have the body type. It's not his build. Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton are 4-eyes. So when you bring that guy in for that, you're almost setting him up for failure. But right now, he's in a good spot, and you teach him how to use his hands and all these other things that Kwiatkowski has a reputation for doing. So I actually think they're going to be better on the edge than maybe the fear has been in the past. And then they're good at corner. Got to keep developing the linebackers. Hearing good things about Benda. Hearing good things about Jalen Ford. You know, I like where they're at. You know, tight ends are good. Just got to keep getting the offensive line up to task. That's probably the biggest coaching points right there is with the tackles. But kind of lost in all that is, I don't know if he did this on purpose, but Sarkisian left out the fact that two of the best offensive linemen were out from that scrimmage. So, you know, I mean, if two of your best offensive linemen are out of the scrimmage, then come on now.
Yeah, that's definitely a yeah, that's one thing I do see is just we're gonna have some young guys on the line, you know, majors. Eric, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There we go. Okay, looks like we had a delay there, but yeah, I was just saying that I do hope overall we just see some consistency on the line, just because it's the offensive line has to play together as a unit so much, you know, talk to each other, come off a block, scoop blocks, and sometimes they have to make those decisions just within a second.
Right.
But yeah, there's got to be a lot of continuity there, so hopefully we see that. Since you brought Ray Thornton up, that the two guys, you know, that I wanted to ask about, I think there's been a lot of questions about them because we keep hearing their names come up, Ray Thornton and then Darian Dunn. Do you see both of these guys potentially ending up starting early in the year? And it kind of seems like Thornton looks like he's already getting one of those spots. And then what are you seeing that stands out to you with Darian Dunn?
Yeah, I think Ray has the X in a figure 4 leg lock. Like he's going to start at X without a doubt, and that's sort of the Joseph Osai outside linebacker position. I can't see anybody supplanting him. Obviously Prince Dorb is working hard and making some plays, but Thornton's just kind of a grown man out there. I mean, he's been around for a long time, and this is a guy that was strong enough to play 3-tech at LSU. I mean, give me a break. He's 245 pounds, and he's got that lower body strength, right. And he's pretty technical. So, yeah, he's going to start. I'd be shocked if he didn't start.
Do you think he was out of place at LSU? Do you think he was too far inside?
Oh, I mean, he was kind of caught up how they were using Osai 2 years ago. We're just kind of bouncing him around. Osai was playing middle linebacker and all this other stuff, kind of out of necessity. Well, at LSU, they have an NFL assembly line ahead of him. He was good enough to play it, pretty much anywhere. It's just whether or not your timing aligns and you're actually good enough to start. Who's the guy ahead of you? That's a whole big deal. With Darian Dunn, that kind of aligns with what we're talking about, because Darian Dunn has two NFL athletes in front of him. Now, Darian Dunn himself is an NFL athlete as well. All three of those guys are NFL. Well, all four of them are, maybe even five of them. I have no idea. Keaton Crawford's an NFL athlete too. So when you have these NFL athletes, then it comes down to who's playing the most reliably. Who can you count on when you need to. And so Darian Dunn, he doesn't have anything locked up as far as being a starter right now. Josh Thompson is Josh Thompson's probably going to be a team captain, one of the top 4 team captains, and a starter. Deshaun Jameson going to be really tough to unseat him. He's basically a Dory Jackson over there. And then so is he figuring that nickel? I don't know because they love Adam Moore there as well. So yeah, it's just he came to DBU, man.
Right. Yeah. No, that's awesome, and it just knowing a guy like that who transfers over and just is immediately drawing attention and praise from his teammates. He's having to fit into a new team with a new coaching staff, and he's automatically drawing attention. So that's nothing but good.
Athlete, and he doesn't automatically have a spot, so that just tells you what's going on with the other guys. Josh is good, Josh is reliable, and then Deshaun has tons of upside. So yeah, Darian has turned heads, don't get me wrong. Like he's very athletic. He's the guy that could mirror Tylan Wallace, but yeah, he doesn't have anything locked up for sure.
Right. Guys, if you're just joining us or catching it on the replay, we're on with Eric Nahlin of Inside Texas, just chatting about some spring ball, previewing the spring game on April 24th, the orange-white game. And then, post your questions here, and we'll try to get some of them. Some of the questions that I've been reading, we've kind of covered already. Chris's question here was talking about wanting one safety type that can play the alley, and the rest of the DBs sort of be like cornerbacks.
Yeah.
That have cornerback traits. You kind of covered that a little bit, Eric. I mean, is that kind of a BJ Foster and everybody else type of defensive back?
Let me thank Chris for reading Inside Texas, because that's where he got that little blurb from.
Nice. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Well, it kind of goes back to that not quite the Akina 4 corners days where you coverage is the priority, so you got to be able to switch places on blitzers and stuff and bring the guy down the alley. BJ Foster, I'm not sure if anybody's better suited for that. And then coverage is going to be the priority over there. And we should probably talk about Brennan Schooler, Schoolboy, they call him Schoolboy. He's playing over there at field safety behind Jaron Thompson. I wouldn't say that they have a spirited battle, but I will say that Schooler's out there, quite a bit. They have different things they do in a base package where I think he's kind of a replacement for a linebacker. So that, it's very important. As far as Gideon says, I think Adam Moore is going to be the starting nickel. They love his coverage. He's lost weight. Obviously, he always had great coverage skills. I can never believe that he was so lowly rated. And then you got your 2 corners that we talked about, and there's still Darian. I mean, Darian could be a replacement corner or a nickel if he had to be, and Anthony Cook could play it. I mean, it's just there really is an embarrassment of riches. You have guys that aren't going to play at Texas, or at least start. They could be starting corners throughout the rest of the conference.
Yeah, and I think especially with that group, one thing we can't have anymore is the youth excuse.
Yeah.
I think a couple of years ago it was all the youth excuse, and then the injuries kind of fell like dominoes. But hopefully what we have is a convergence of health and experience.
Yeah, I don't think there are any excuses anymore. Even the new coaches and all that. Just learn it and do it.
Right. So you kind of alluded to one thing earlier, and one of the questions I wanted to ask. I've got my pick, but as of right now, what do you see as the strongest position unit on the team, and what do you see as the weakest, most susceptible unit on the team?
Well, strongest is the Bijan position, but also I'm also a Rashawn homer too. I love Rashawn. When it comes to evaluating running backs, you just want to see somebody hit the hole hard, and Rashawn does that, and then you start looking for all the other things that Bijan does that, Bijan just was kind of born to do. So, running back, you've got a Heisman candidate there, and another guy that I think I do think that I saw Alfred Blue carve out a career with the Texans, so I think Rashawn Johnson can make some money playing the position in the NFL as well. Corner, I'm big on the corners. Like I said, when I say they're all NFL athletes, there's still other things you're looking for. There's a toughness. That position requires a lot of toughness. You're playing against guys that are much bigger than you, even at the wide receiver position. These guys are pretty damn big these days. I like the depth at tight end. Maybe it's not star-studded, although I am pretty big on Jared Wiley, probably as big as anybody outside of his immediate family. Let's see. Oh, well, defensive tackle, of course. Give me a break. You've got,
Yeah,
you've got
that was
Keon,
my number one.
Devondre Sweat. Sweat's been out lately. Right now you have Vernon Broughton working behind Coburn in practice. I think that's more of to get a pass rusher out there. And then you've got Alfred Collins and Moro Ojimo. And Alfred Collins, of course, is, I think that Alfred's probably a top 15 draft pick when it's all said and done.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And he does seem to me like one of those kind of hybrid guys who's tall and athletic enough, to be, still be a defensive tackle with his size. But man, if he can just win one-on-one battles and him and Colburn not need help from blitzing linebackers or blitzing safeties, if they can get back there and knife into the backfield and just cause chaos without extra help, that's
Has
gonna
a
be
real
awesome.
advantage with his length combined with his first step is just unfair. It's a really short path to the backfield.
Yeah. And anytime a defensive tackle is making interceptions or just barely dropping a couple of other ones,
Well, he was levitating. That was a matrix play. That was that. Yeah,
yeah,
don't see that often.
right, the paw. So Trevor wants to know about using Bijan on swing passes. Obviously, I think one of the things that a lot of people are anticipating is just different creative ways to use him also as a decoy. But let him get going and get going downfield and give him the ball while he's moving. So do you think we're going to see more of that in terms of the versatility of the way they'll use him?
Yeah, I mean, the more swing passes we see, or screen game, or even lining them out to the slot. That's a great question by Trevor. He seems like a smart guy. The more it tells you that they might not feel as comfortable with the wide receivers or just the downhill running game in general. So I do think we are going to see quite a few swing passes, just because it's an easy way to take the load off of the quarterback, easy way to take the load off the pass rush and the offensive lineman. You can just settle into your game plan, get these guys out in space, and let the Heisman candidate do his thing.
Right. So I was reading, we'll highlight Chris again. I didn't finish reading his question, but it's kind of long. Who looks like they're moving the best compared to last year? And he clarifies that by players seem like they've slimmed down, do a different focus. Whittington seems to be the biggest benefactor of guys like Adamora, Coburn, Woodard, who also lost a good amount of weight. I think I heard Coburn say something in his media availability that the coach is wanting down to, I don't know, I forget, 260 or something like that. And he basically said there was like 1 pound difference of where he is now. So
the thing with Coburn is he's such a huge. He's just big, and it's not all fat. It's it's muscle. He's just a dense dude. So he's just never going to be a light guy, and that's just all there is to it. Like some guys, you see these offensive linemen, they peel back after the NFL, and they're down to 260 or something. That's just not going to be Coburn. Guys that are benefiting from kind of a restructuring, yeah, I would say Whittington. Whittington's always been built up, even from go back to him as a freshman in high school. He built like a full-grown man. That's definitely helped him out. He's quicker, not nearly as bulky. I think he mentioned a couple other guys. Who else?
He mentioned Whittington, Adamora.
Yeah, Adamora.
Coburn. I mean, obviously Adamora, we there's been a change there. And even like thinking about last year, the transformation of some of those guys like Overshown moving to linebacker, that was obviously different.
The thing with Overshown, that's more of a natural progression, just given his size and structure. A guy like Adamora, they're having to peel back down. They had him playing a spur, which is basically a linebacker, and now he's going to be in coverage more often. So that was a big one. Adamora, he could have gone one of two ways in his career. He could have become that next Overshown linebacker, but they're making a concerted effort to have him play nickel. That fluidity that he had in high school tape. There are people saying that he has the fluidity of a corner. So obviously he doesn't have necessarily the size. You don't want a corner to be that big just because there's diminishing returns on it. But he does have those type of hips, and if you peel him down, you really want these guys to be peeled down and be as fast as athletic as possible. I think that's what they're getting at with Torrey Beckton and the strength and conditioning program.
Cool. Yeah, that's here's a question from Chris, was asking about strength and conditioning, reducing injuries. Any major differences that you see with what these coaches want to focus on when it comes to strength and conditioning versus main differences from the last few years?
Well, I mean, that's a big part of it too. They're still doing the hydration test that Herman was doing. Maybe not the same exact hydration test, like they weren't going by color. But that's a big part of the soft tissue injuries that they're worried about. But the way they're going about it differently is they're trying to build up the smaller muscles first before they build up the bigger muscles, and they do that with a lot of isolation work or unilateral work. They've been doing that with the legs, and it's probably not something your audience cares too much to hear about, but they are doing a lot of that in the strength and conditioning program. They're definitely focusing on the big muscles, but unilaterally to build up the small muscles around them before they attack the bigger muscles.
Right. No, it makes sense. Not letting those get away from you, and then the rest of your body can't handle it.
Exactly.
So we've got the legend Bobby Burton.
Oh, my boy.
Sneaking in here. He said, what is this, two middle-aged bald guys talking about the horns? That's absolutely right.
What a jerk.
Yeah. Hair's overrated.
Exactly.
That's funny. So last couple things, spring, orange and white spring game. What, any predictions that you might say to watch out for? Obviously the cool thing I like best about the game is that you can watch individual matchups, individual units. That's what I kind of pay attention to. Who's rotating in there with who's matched up against different matchups. So any predictions or anything that you'd tell people to watch for specifically that might kind of surprise them or pop out at them?
I think what will show up in a game like that is that the overall talent of the roster is pretty good. Like you could see a guy that might not start, like Darian Dunn, like we were talking about, make the play of the game. But that type of guy is littered throughout the program. It's just about building up the frontline talent and making cohesive, making the offensive line cohesive and everybody on the same page schematically. That's what's going to make the difference. But I always see that in that first disappointing loss of the year, I hear about there's no talent on the team. There's talent all over the team. Ridiculous. I'm not saying that it's a top 5 team, but the talent is definitely there. I think the thing about the spring game is you're going to see a lot of guys make plays and people are going to wonder, well, why didn't we hear more about him, or is he going to start? That type of thing, because that's kind of the setting where those type of guys that are hungry tend to make those plays.
Yeah, I think that's especially true with like the wide receivers, and really throughout the season. You can go and be super excited about the 5th best receiver on this team, but there's just not that many passes to go around. Not everybody's going to have an 800-yard, 900-yard season.
Right.
You just and I don't want there to be 40 to 50 passes a game. I don't want that. That's what a lot of people say. Like, where's Jake? Where's Jordan? Where's well, I mean, everybody starts naming off 5, 6, 7 different guys, tight ends. There's just there's not enough to go around.
Yeah. You just want a coherent offense. It's going to be a play action RPO offense. Everything's going to feast off the running backs, and then who can take advantage of it. And one game it might be a tight end, another game it might be O'Meary, another game it might be Kelvonte Dixon.
Yeah. So I think Amy has a good question here, just about the reception of the new coaching staff. Obviously a buzzword is always buy-in. Are the players buying into the philosophy? And I even think I think a lot too is that you need time to develop relationships. Yeah, in college football, these guys stay for 3 or 4 years and they're gone, but this is basically the third coaching staff in as many years, especially with the coordinators. So how have you kind of seen that just in terms of their reception to not only buying into what they're trying to do, but just being able to develop relationships with them? And given last year, yeah, everybody was impacted by COVID and not having a spring game or spring ball and not a normal off-season workout program, but not everybody was ushering in a new coaching staff either, by and large. So how do you think these players are kind of dealing with all that and developing relationships with the new crew?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of unfortunate these guys are starting anew with these position coaches, and they like the last position coaches without a doubt. Sarkisian just has better human interacting skills than the last guy. I mean that's just all there is to it. When you go into a new situation, you don't just go in and break it down and take a sledgehammer to a to a locker and kind of bounce back. You kind of go in and you go in and you gauge, you get a feel for it. I think they're hitting all the right chords. These guys, I'm not saying they want to be loved or anything like that. They're not soft, none of that. But after the last couple of years where, things weren't working out with that style of coaching can work, but you have to win and the players have to improve. I wrote about it today. You can use, cuss words and all that, and it'll resonate just the same as positive reinforcement. But they have to get better and they have to win so they can see that it's working. So this is a 180 to some degree. They love how upfront he is. I wrote today that his approval rating, his internal approval rating is very high. They just love how upfront he is, and he doesn't sugarcoat things, but he's also not just over the top just to be over the top.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. And I got to think that, even though he wasn't at Alabama for that long, I got to think that's got to weigh a lot, with just that.
I think it's Pete Carroll, man. He's an offensive Pete Carroll, but with a little hints of Saban. I think he's got that. I think the players are going to love him like they love Pete Carroll.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah, it's always funny to watch him on the sidelines, with the pro guys. I mean, he's smacking away at his chewing gum, but it's funny to watch his
mannerisms.
He's the oldest coach in the league, but he's jumping around and slapping guys on the shoulder pads. And
yeah, he's a player's coach. I don't think Sarkisian will be that animated, but he's not going to be as Nick Saban is one of the Elephant Island. What is it? Not Elephant Island. What is the island with all the heads? Easter Island. Yeah, that's Nick Saban.
Oh, yeah.
So he's going to have more emotion than Nick Saban, but I don't think he's going to be kind of over the top as Pete. But I do think he has a lot of the qualities of both. Program management, of course, but I think his personality-wise is more towards Pete, where more of a player's coach, the door might be open a lot more than it would be under Saban.
Yeah, interesting. So here's one that Dale brought up that we didn't talk about: special teams. Obviously, 3 new special teams coaches. How do you think they'll try to get more creative? Jameson, obviously, I think is still locked in as a returner. But what changes might we see there with special teams? Hopefully, what I want to see is the big change is just better field position, right? It just seemed like almost every game last year there were a lot of drives where Texas was starting, on deep inside their territory, but the other team was getting the ball very regularly at their own 40 at worst, right? So.
Well, Dale uses an interesting word here. He has creative there, and one of my buddies, one of my good friends, actually, he's a defensive coordinator in Dallas. He he knows Jeff Banks quite well, and he says, Eric, he uses an expletive just to get the point across. He's like, I don't know where he gets this from. So he does have these special teams plays dialed up that nobody's ever heard of. Jeff kind of just thinks of them up in his head. Banks is crazy, man. Banks, he'll get an hour's worth of coaching in 15 minutes. He's a mile a minute energy. Playing special teams, that's a big energy game. That you want those guys to be aggressive and getting after it, and especially at the time of the game that those plays occur. It could be at the end of a drive. They're tired often. So you want that energy and effort, and I can see why Banks excels in that. So I do think they are going to be more. I think they're going to be aggressive. I think they're going to be more well coached. It's effort and it's discipline. That's special teams right there to a T. And then Jameson's probably going to house 3 punts. Who knows, man? The guy's awesome.
Yeah, no, you never know. He's definitely you can tell he loves it too, like Jameson. Like you can tell that he loves just returning kicks, and
I love that.
He you can tell that he almost like looks for the home run on every because he can get to top speed fast. But yeah, he's fun.
Yeah, pure football player.
All right. So I guess last thing here, just give me one crazy prediction about this year. Just offense, defense, special teams, record, whatever. Give me one crazy prediction that you think would shock everybody.
I'm going to have BJ Foster go in the top 2 rounds after this next season. That's going to be my prediction.
All right. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, that would be cool.
Total NFL athlete, NFL mindset, toughest dude on the field, can run, can hit. They'll find a place for him in the NFL. I think the scheme is going to set him up. When Guy asked about the how Gideon was saying that they need one box safety and a bunch of corners around him, he's that box safety.
Yeah, no, he excels at it for sure. Hopefully his shoulder doesn't fall off. When he brings those hits, sometimes it's they're fun to watch, but they take a pounding.
Yep.
Eric, man, I appreciate it. So Eric Nahlin, Inside Texas. Eric, you guys are running an awesome special right now for your membership at Inside Texas for the spring. Tell us about that and how people can take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's 17 days free, so you can get through the end of the spring game. It's on InsideTexas.com. If you're into basketball, we actually cover that, believe it or not. We're very excited about the Chris Beard hire. And so yeah, it's an all-encompassing site. We have beat writers, we have everything you want to cover on or everything you want to read about UT sports. So we're growing. We're very excited about what we have going on, and we're proud of our product.
Awesome. All right. So InsideTexas.com, and the people can see it over there. They'll see how to sign up for that.
Yep. Go to InsideTexas.com and hit subscribe.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it, Eric. It was a lot of fun. We'll have to do it again. And it was. It's always good to just come on here and chat. We'll maybe do something for the draft or something. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, appreciate it, David. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thanks for jumping on, guys. See you next time. Welcome.